I'm going to. Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our Chavruta sessions live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg. He had a little bit of problem with his internet, so sorry for the few minutes delay, but we are live and in the Zoom room. So let's just tune right in and say hello to Rabbi. Shalom, Rabbi. So good to be with you today, and I look forward to seeing you next weekend in Montreal. Exciting.
You're all invited. All the details, Dan knows all the details. Also, Bart, you're also invited.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know it's a bit hard to go out from your town to the airport, but you're all invited. It will come also to Europe again. Don't be afraid, Good evening, everybody. We have a short meeting tonight. I'm sorry. And next week, maybe we'll do something also with Dan. I don't know. Maybe we'll do some surprise or something. Let's see. We'll figure this up, next week, and maybe we'll do something from Canada. But let's dive inside and let's learn a bit. And I prefer, Dan, can you please upload the chapter 8? That we came to chapter 8 basically. I will say a few things. Meanwhile, until you're putting this up on the internet, Jacob, you can also put it on the internet if you want. Someone needs to put it up there. I have problems here with my internet. No, you can. You have the permission. Everybody have permission. So I don't know if you have it. If you have it, you can put it up. I will say something in principle. We all know.
Recording in progress.
We all know about the question with the light. Is the light a wave, or the light is like bubbles? Everybody knows this today. It's something that's very clear. But one of the most interesting things in this mysterious of the light is that when you're not looking and you're not viewing the experiments, okay, so it's being in superposition in two places in one time. But if you viewing this situation, so it will be only in one place. And what we are learning here is that every, I will say, electron, everyone by itself, have permission to decide how to behave. But when you have a masses of these electrons, or all the protons, whatever it is, everything that is related with with the body of the human, this is where it doesn't have any possibility of freedom of choice. And on the same level, as individuals, we do have a possibility of choosing all sorts of things and ideas, and to decide what to do with our life. But when we are getting more and more in a collective level, this is where we're losing the freedom of choice. Again, not the personal level, on the collective level. Okay? I will give an example. Donald Trump, for example. Okay? Before he became, I will say, the president, before he was being, nominated as a president, he spoke about few things about the Hebrew nation, that he will do this and he will do that. But as soon as he became the president, now there are other things that he is speaking, because the heart of the kings is not by their own. It's related also with how God is deciding to move here things. And it doesn't really have 100% freedom of choice. But this is only when it's coming to the level of the collective, of the large masses of people. And as an individual, each one of us have the possibility of the freedom of choice. And we see something similar with Pharaoh and his and the Egyptians, okay, the old Egyptians, where God is saying, I'm going to stubborn his heart more and more, that he won't let the Hebrew people to go out. And the Maimonides in chapter 8 now that we're going to read in a moment, I'm sure, thank you. I'm sure that we won't be able to finalize everything tonight. It's a long chapter, okay? But at the end of the chapter, he is discussing exactly this issue. And the main part of this chapter is to state, not like the Sunni part of the Islam. I don't know if you know, but 85% of the Islam is Sunni and not Shi'i. And I will say something around between 75%, more or less, against the jihad. Okay, why don't you hear that? Because those who are going fully with the jihad, they are much more strong and much more hard people that are killing, slaughtering everybody else. So everybody's afraid. But most of the Arabs, most of the Muslims, they don't believe in the jihad, but they do believe that we don't have any freedom of choice. And against this idea, I want to remind us all that the Maimonides was living in the area, in Egypt, in the area of the Muslims. He is building up this chapter, number 8, to express to us that each individual have fully freedom of choice. If you will go to Kant, Immanuel Kant, 400 plus years ago, he have an inside debate, and he can't prove to any side, does the individual have freedom of choice, yes or not? He doesn't know. He says, if you purely trying to think if you have freedom of choice or not, you have the same value of, I will say, explanation, understanding, reason to say that the person have freedom of choice or that the person doesn't have freedom of choice. Okay? This is where you trying to think or to figure this issue in a pure way, only through the logic. The Maimonides is saying something else. Since God obeyed us, decided that we need to do commandments, okay? He can't ask us to do commandments. It's immoral to ask a person to do commandments if he doesn't have the freedom of choice to do them or not to do them. Therefore, in the perspective of the Jewish nation, of the Hebrew nation, who spoke with God in Mount Sinai, at the moment that God said to us that we need to decide between good and bad, and that we need to stick to the commandments, at this moment we understand fully 100% that we have freedom of choice. Because if not, God wouldn't have asked us to do so, to do things. And because he's asking us on all the levels that we have, through our mind, through our words, through our actions, whatever it is, that we will obey to his commandments. Therefore, we have freedom, fully freedom to think, to speak, and to behave in all sorts of ways. As a general side, okay, I will say as a collective side, I don't have the collective side of the Hebrew nation doesn't have any choice. They're supposed to be always in the right way, and if they're not in the right way, they're getting punishment. God is not leaving them alone. God is not throwing them to the garbage of the history, whatever it is, God forbid. God will punish them and will strengthen them back, okay, as the collective side. But on the personal side, people along history left the Jewish nation, I'll say it like that, okay? They got lost, okay? They got lost in the dust of the history, just like the Egyptians got lost in the dust of the history. Now, the main part of chapter, or the main issue of chapter 8 from the 8 chapters is to tell us that there is no way of demanding us to behave in a good way unless we have freedom of choice. And this is what the Maimonides is going to express and to show. So let's start to read it step by step. We'll take a bit of time. We won't be able to finish everything.
Okay, Rabbi, I can only show it to the audience. I can't show it in the share. I tried once already, and it disconnected my connection outwards. So I got it up here. Concerning the natural disposition of man.
But don't show me, show the text, okay? Mainly the text. Put it on top of me.
Yeah, I'm showing the text to the audience on the broadcast. Okay, concerning the natural disposition of man, it is impossible for man to be born endowed by nature from his very birth with either virtue or vice. That's a big statement. It is impossible for man to be born endowed by nature from his very birth with either virtue or vice, just as it is impossible that he should be born skilled by nature in any particular art. It is possible, however, that through natural causes he may from birth be so constituted as to have a predilection for a particular virtue or vice, so that he will more readily practice it than any other. For instance, a man whose natural constitution inclines towards dryness, whose brain matter is clear and not overloaded with fluids, finds it much easier to learn, remember, and understand things than the phlegmatic man whose brain is encumbered with a great deal of humidity. But if one who inclines constitutionally towards a certain excellence is left entirely without instruction, and if his faculties are not stimulated, he will undoubtedly remain ignorant. On the other hand, if one by nature, dull and phlegmatic, possessing an abundance of humidity, is instructed and enlightened, he will, though with difficulty, it is true, gradually succeed in acquiring knowledge and understanding. In exactly the same way, he whose blood is somewhat warmer than is necessary has the requisite quality to make him a brave man. Another, however, the temperate of those of whose heart is colder than it should be, is naturally inclined towards cowardice and fear, so that if he should be taught and trained to be a coward, he would easily become one. If, however, it be desired to make a brave man of him, he can without a doubt become one, providing he receive the proper training, which would require, of course, great exertion.
I want to say, I don't want to go inside too much to the idea that in those days they thought that if you in your brain it's going like that or going this way and the other way. I don't want to go into
wet or dry, yeah.
Yes, because we know today that it's working a bit differently. Fair enough. Okay, so the science it's much more. I will say that always there were two main fields until today, by the way, that are really, I will say, exciting the science and exciting the human being. One is what's happening in the stars outside the world, and the other one is what's happening in the brain. Okay, those are two mysterious things that is causing a lot of ideas. Think for a moment. What are the most popular movies that we know? One of them is someone got shrinked inside to the other person head, or the Star War. All those things that outside this world. We don't really know exactly what's happening, not here, not there. But we know that there are people who it's much easier for them to learn. There are people who it's less easier for them to learn. But still, they can do much of effort. Okay, I was a high school principal for groups of people of ADD, ADHD, but not in a normal scale, in a much higher scale than the others. They are very, I will say, brave people and very interesting people that can lead a lot of people behind them in the army. But you can't go to the army until you're in the age of 18. So they're suffering a lot when they're young in the schools. Okay, but still they're very smart people, but they're learning differently than in the normal schools. So they're getting outside from the normal schools, usually. Okay, they can be outside sometimes from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 schools until the grade 9. I saw this in my eyes, okay? I collected those people to my school. So it's hard for them to learn, they can't learn, they can learn, but it's different. You need to teach them differently. And this is basically what he's saying. Each person is being, I will say, born, going out from his mother's womb, okay, in different components, in different ways. Some, it's much easier for them to learn, some is less. Some it's much easier for them to be brave or to be strong, and some are less. All sorts of, differences. Thank God, we are different one from each other. There is a saying in the Babylon Talmud that it's already in the Mishnah, okay, that the one of the most uniqueness things that God did, he created each one of us in a unique way. So we are all very similar. We all have nose, we all have ears, we all have eyes, we all have mouth, we have all those things. But still, each one of us is a unique person in this world. That's it. It's very strange, okay? Because you go to for example, okay, go to the Apple, we'll say, devices. They are more or less serious of those. It's the same one. No, the God created each one of us, very complicated but very unique. None of us is the same. But, and this is the most important thing, still you can have the possibility of learning. It might be hard for you, it might be easy for you. You can learn a lot of things, but it might, again, as I said in the beginning, it might be easy, it might be hard, but you can learn and you can get expert in one way or another way. Let's continue, please, Dan.
Okay, second chapter or paragraph. I have entered into this subject so you may not believe the absurd ideas of astrologers who falsely assert that the constellation at the time of one's birth determines whether one is to be virtuous or vicious, the individual being thus necessarily compelled to follow out a certain line of conduct. I think you've already addressed that. Paragraph 3. We, on the contrary, are convinced that our law agrees with Greek philosophy, which substantiates with convincing proofs the contention that man's conduct is entirely in his own hands, that no compulsion is exerted, and that no external influence is brought to bear upon him that constrains him to be either virtuous or vicious, except inasmuch as, according to what we have said above, he may be by nature so constituted as to find it easy or hard, as the case may be, to do a certain thing, but that he must necessarily do or refrain from doing a certain thing is absolutely untrue.
Okay, so again, every person have the possibility. It's interesting that he is saying that with this we agree with the Greeks, okay, with the philosophers. Again, I'm saying that today Kant is the most, latest one. Everybody is listening to Kant, and he brought he's calling it four antinomia of the logic, okay, where you can't prove that a person have freedom of choice, and you can't prove that a person doesn't have freedom of choice, okay? This is what Kant is saying. But in the old Greeks, and also in the Torah, in the Bible that we got from God, or with the words that we got from God, the person have freedom of choice. Each person have freedom of choice. And now let's read a bit more, and I will say a few words, please.
Okay, were a man compelled to act according to the dictates of predestination, then the commands and prohibitions of the law would become null and void, and the law would be completely false, since man would have no freedom of choice in what he does. Moreover, it would be useless, in fact, absolutely in vain, for man to study, to instruct, or attempt to learn an art, as it would be entirely impossible for him on account of the external force compelling him, according to the opinion of those who hold this view, to keep from doing a certain act, from gaining certain knowledge, or from acquiring a certain characteristic. Reward and punishment, too, would be pure injustice, both as regards man towards man and as between God and man. Suppose, under such conditions, that Simeon should kill Reuben. Why would the former be punished, seeing that he was constrained to do the killing, and Reuben was predestined to be slain? How could the Almighty, who is just and righteous, chastise Simeon for a deed which it was impossible for him to leave undone, and which, though he strove with all his might, he would be unable to avoid? If such were the true state of affairs, all precautionary measures, such as building houses, providing means of sustenance, fleeing when one fears danger, and so forth, would be absolutely useless. For that which is decreed beforehand must necessarily happen if you hold the predestination. This theory is, therefore, positively unsound, contrary to reason and common sense, subversive of the fundamental principles of religion, and attributes injustice to God, far be it from him.
Okay, so he's saying here two main points. Point number one, that if God is asking us to do some commandments, it must be that we have the freedom of choice of doing it. And more than that, if it's not like that, how come God is punishing someone? For example, let's go to the lion. Can we punish the lion that is eating the lamb because he's hungry? No. Why not? Because it's his nature. He doesn't have any freedom of choice. When he is hungry, he's eating whatever he's finding in front of him. So you can't punish him for that. Okay, it's on his nature. It's just like you can't punish someone who is going to the toilet twice a day because he needs to take out all the poison that he has inside his body. You won't punish him for that, because it's part of the nature. Okay? The nature that we are holding is we're doing a few things that we don't really have the possibility. We will punish someone if he's doing it not in the toilet, but he's doing it in a very, nasty way against others, okay, in all sorts of ways. So this is why we're going to punish him, because he's not behaving in a normal, way inside the society. But we won't punish someone who is doing an act of the nature act, okay? Sorry for the example that I took. So those are the two main points that he's starting with. Now, from now on, it's going to be the chapter is going to be much more complicated and going inside, and it will go also to give the example at the end of the Egyptians, what we are reading now, okay, in those days, reading those issues about Pharaoh, that God stopped, didn't give him the possibility of freedom of choice, and it will be one stage ahead, more complicated and complicated. And I'm urging you to read it. Again, I don't know exactly. I don't want to promise that we're going to meet next week. It might be that we will manage. Okay, it depends on a few things. It also depends on the timing. What is the time now in Montreal? Who knows? What is the time in Montreal? So maybe then we will manage to do something with our phone. It's in the middle of the meeting that we're going to do a live meeting with Rabbi Sherki. Okay, maybe we'll also ask Rabbi Sherki to give a few minutes and we'll open the Zoom room, okay, as usual, at least to do something. But 2 weeks from now, hopefully, we're going to come back and to progress in this chapter. And this chapter is hiding one of the most biggest secrets of the Hebrew nation on the difference between the point of view of us as human beings, that we say that we have freedom of choice, and the point of view of God, who is leading this world, and for him, he knows everything up front. So if he knows everything up front, so do we really have freedom of choice? On the other side, we do have freedom of choice. So how come God can know things up front? This is where the chapter is going to drill inside this issue. Okay? So first of all, read it. Whatever you will understand, it's okay.
Yeah.
And we will
Chapter
continue
8 of
on.
the 8 chapters. Yeah. Excellent,
Okay.
excellent work. Yeah, for sure.
So
Thank
we
you
start
so
with-
much, Rabbi. I know you've got to go early today, and it was going to be a short class. Does anybody in the Zoom have any comments or questions at this point for the Rabbi? Jacob, Bart, Ange?
Good to see you, Jacob.
Melinda?
Good to see you. What is the time?
Hello.
Hi,
there, Jacob?
Rabbi.
What is the time by you now?
It's 8 p.m.
No.
South
Jacob
Uh,
Lee.
Yeah.
South Korea.
Yes.
It's 4 a.m. in Korean time.
Applause.
Wow.
Whoa, amazing. Applause. Thank you.
Rabbi, by the way, I have a question about Laban and Jacob in the Torah.
Yeah, I saw your question. Why Laban wants to kill Jacob? Okay.
Yes.
I will give a very short answer, but we need to learn it a bit. Basically, Laban understands that the continuous of the history will go with Jacob and not with him. And he is saying, I prefer to kill Jacob so the kids of Jacob will stay by me and the continuous of the history will be with me. But God is not with him, so it's not working to him. We are more or less on the same stage today, okay? Through who the history of the world will continue, will progress. I will tell you that in Israel we have the fights. It will progress through the Jews, the Hebrew people, and those who are joining them. And it won't progress through the Hamas and the evil people in the Arab countries. I'm speaking about the evil people, okay? And this is what they understand, and this is why they're fighting us. Okay? On one leg, we got everything here. What happened in Genesis and what's happening now. It's the same thing. We already saw in Genesis that Ishmael is trying to kill Isaac. And then we saw that Laban is trying to kill Jacob. Everything here is all the time the fights. Who is going to progress in the history to continue on? And who is trying to avoid or trying to say, we are going to continue, not you. And it's on one leg, the answer, but we can answer. I can explain
Rabbi.
this.
Rabbi?
Yes, I have another, late. Yes, please. Yes, please.
I heard just now in the Torah, Ishmael was trying to kill Isaac in the Torah.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. Just like Esau tried to kill Jacob, and just like Cain killed Abel, it's all the time going there. But also I can show you where everything. Yes, it is true. I'm really sorry. I need to go. Okay. If you want, I can leave the room open and all.
Sure, Rabbi. Yeah, Jacob. It happened. It happened before Sarah got rid of
Ishmael.
Hagar and Ishmael. Yeah, before she petitioned. Before Sarah petitioned Abraham to get rid of Hagar and Ishmael. So Ishmael tried to kill. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did that in our Genesis class. It was real good. Rabbi, I know you got to go. I will see you this week. I will try and call you on Monday or Tuesday and connect. I still haven't had time to review some of the documents you sent me yesterday, so just no time, and you're running exhausted here and busy, and so it's a joy. I'm looking forward to the break, and I'm looking forward to meeting you and Rabbi Shirky, and Yehuda HaKohen's going to be there as well.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes,
exciting. So.
Okay. Bye,
all right,
everybody.
Rabbi.
Have a great week.
Take care. Blessings to you. All right, for those of you listening out there on YouTube and Facebook, I'm going to sign out of our session for today. We'll probably be back in a couple weeks with this. I don't know if they'll be able to get one broadcast next week. I will be there in Montreal when they're doing it, and reality is I know the way the rabbis function. They never take time to set up. It's okay, make it happen, and boom, if it's when you're setting up a stream, you gotta have time to make sure all the audio and video is connected and working and functioning, and that won't happen, I'm sure, in Montreal, but like Rabbi said, he might be able to connect to Zoom from his phone, but who knows what kind of Wi-Fi or it'll be. But it actually, the one meeting's on Shabbat, so he can't use a phone, and the next day on the Sunday might be able to. So we'll see. I doubt it, but we'll probably be back in 2 weeks with the finishing of the 8 chapters of the Rambam. Excellent points that have to do with the questions of free will and predestination, establishing the reality. I'll keep the Zoom meeting open for another 10-15 minutes if you guys still want to chat. But for those watching out there, have a wonderful day, everybody, and we'll see you in a couple weeks for sure.
Yeah. Good, yeah, really good. How are you? Yeah, you say you did. Ah, gotcha. Gotcha. Well, hang